How come when somebody dresses really bad, nobody ever really tells them? When I worked in the menswear industry, I was one of the worst dressed men there was. Suits were tight as hell, pants were way too short, dark suits with light shoes. Just doing the most. But nobody never said a word. Except this one time, I went to this Ferrari dealership trying to get some business, and the manager, which was an older Italian guy, he goes to me, "Is that the way your suit is supposed to look?" Now, mind you, he didn't tell me I was doing it wrong. That was the only question that he had, you know what I mean? But that's all that needed to be said. Intro.
You should come rolling my
Yo, what up? My name is Vladimir Riché from ChaseandRider.com. In this episode, we're going to talk about 5 harsh realities men need to accept to look their best. Let's get it. Number 1, compliments don't really mean nothing. A lot of guys, when they find out the truth about certain things and they're trying to make a case for the opposite, they always mention that how many compliments they got. For example, when I talk about how bad it looks when people wear dark suits with light brown shoes, they always come back with, "I get so many compliments whenever I do that." It's not really a good thing, man. The reason why you're getting so many compliments is because people don't really know what else to say. And it's something that is so noticeable. It's right in their face. As soon as you show up, everybody's looking at your feet. Let me use another example. Let's say you're wearing a suit that's tight as hell, and then you show up somewhere, with all the swag. People will say something because, number 1, most of them don't know any better. Them paying you a compliment doesn't really hold any weight because they don't know that much to begin with. I'm not saying that compliments aren't good, and I'm not saying that people are being fake, just blowing smoke. You have to look at who's giving you the compliment. I probably used to get more compliments back when I dressed like than I do now. And I'm cool with that because nothing in what I wear now really stands out for people to really comment about it anyway. You know what I mean? Everything just flows. Versus back then, you could pick one thing. Like I had contrast stitching on the lapel, on the buttonholes of the sleeves. So those things, they bring more eyes and more conversation. But it doesn't mean it's a good thing. I think it's time for people to stop confusing getting compliments with meaning that they're doing it right. I was at a wedding one time. The groom was making his rounds, greeting everybody, and he came over to me, gave me a dap, and was like, "Man, you always sharp." I'm like, "You already know, fam. Appreciate it." Then he went to the guy behind me and said the same thing to him. And let's put it this way, the guy behind me, not so sharp, man. You know what I mean? See, the compliment didn't really mean anything. We were all at a wedding, all wearing suits. We definitely look better than if we were just wearing t-shirts and jeans. So that's why he said that. He doesn't have the eyes to see that it's not the same at all. We just happen to both be in a suit. You know what I mean? So you have to consider the source when you get a compliment. They mean well, but if the person doesn't really know that much about menswear, you can't take that to the bank, man. So compliments don't really mean much unless you consider the source of said compliment. Number 2, your wife and girlfriend don't really know much about menswear, man. Obviously, I'm not talking about all women because my wife, she can teach classes about menswear, and that's just from her listening to me talk for all those years. But most women don't know that much about menswear, just like most men don't know that much about menswear. Your girlfriend or wife might know what she likes on you, but doesn't mean that what she likes on you is actually right. And I do understand that nowadays, since so many men can really care less about the way they look, when their wife dress them up, they do look better than if they were to dress themselves. But that doesn't mean that your wife or girlfriend really knows menswear. It just means that you know so little about it, or you don't really care, that she wants you to be presentable when you guys go out. So that shouldn't be who you look to when you're getting dressed. Unless, of course, I used to work with some women in the industry that knew their stuff. I'm not talking about those women. I'm talking about like regular women. Like sometimes I would meet with a client and they can't make a decision because they're like, "I want my wife to see it first so she can give her approval." And I'm saying to myself, I highly doubt that your wife knows more than I do. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. Number 3, this one's a good one, man. Just because it's custom doesn't mean that it fits. When you get something custom made, you're still getting measured by a human being. And that person that's measuring you probably have their own philosophy about fit. I think a lot of guys walk around with suits that are too tight, and if somebody were to mention it to them, they'd be like, "Hey, this is custom made." It just means that you didn't buy it off the rack. They made it for you, but doesn't mean that it fits. you would think custom made, the pattern was cut to your actual measurements, so you should fit right, but it doesn't always mean that. Like I've seen off the rack suits that get tailored properly and fit a lot better than custom made garments. Happen all the time, man. So don't make the mistake of thinking just because something is custom is going to fit you properly. You still have to understand fit and be able to communicate that with whoever you're working with. That way your clothes come out fitting you the way that it should. Number 4, speaking from experience, man, just because something is in GQ doesn't make it true. I've had some guys say to me, but GQ says skinny ties are in, or GQ says you should be wearing your suit jackets a little bit shorter. What people don't realize, a magazine like GQ is a fashion brand. So what they're pushing are trends that's not going to last forever. So if GQ starts pushing classic menswear, they're in trouble because classic menswear doesn't really change that much. So what are they going to keep talking about every month or even every year? When I first started, I used to look at GQ like it was the Bible. If you was in GQ, I was like, that's the one. And that's not to knock them, they're pretty good at what they do, but if you're looking to build a timeless wardrobe, GQ shouldn't be your source of inspiration. The bottom line is you should always do your research, even with the stuff that I say, right? Even though I'm telling you exactly how I got to the point where I am now, but you should still be doing your own research. Don't just take what somebody says as gospel without first doing your own research about it. Like whatever I'm telling you is the truth and nothing but, and eventually after doing your research, you're going to find that out, but still, do your own research, man. I won't take it personal. Number 5, wearing nice shoes doesn't make you well dressed. Now I know this one sounds a little bit counterproductive or even hypocritical because I always preach how shoes are the most important part of one's outfit. I'm not changing my mind. Whenever I'm getting dressed, I think about the shoes first before I think about anything else. You can just look at my videos, for example, go buy the same exact shoes that I've unboxed. You still gotta put the rest of your outfit together, man. So recently, I did a series called 30 Tips in 30 Days, where every day I would talk about a certain tip. So if you haven't seen it, I'll link it somewhere up here, also included in the description. But in that series, I talk about all different aspects of menswear. And you shouldn't just stop at the shoes. I think a lot of guys under the impression, yeah, I wear nice shoes, so I know how to dress. Nah, the whole thing gotta be good, man. Yeah, you should start with the shoes. Doesn't stop there. I know a couple dudes that are like encyclopedias when it comes to shoes. Yeah, the shoes are nice, but can't dress a lick. So definitely do not neglect the rest of your outfit just because you wear nice shoes. The whole thing gotta be good. And I have a bonus one for you guys. Number 6, just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's good. That's a mistake I made too. I used to go to the mall and look at stuff I couldn't afford, and I'm like, man, one day, thank God I couldn't afford it. Because if I bought it and knowing what I know now, I'd be really pissed, man. True story, man. Just because it costs a lot of money doesn't make it good. A lot of time what you're buying is the name brand. You're not buying any quality. That's why a lot of the brands that I talk about, what they're known for is the quality more than the name. So that's the video for today. 5 harsh realities men need to accept to look their best. Actually 6 because I gave you a bonus one. By the way, I have a small ebook called the 7 style mistakes that you're making right now. I'll link it somewhere up here. Check it out in the description of this video. In the ebook, just like the name implies, I talk about 7 style mistakes and how to avoid them. So I would really appreciate it if you guys get yourself a copy. Hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe, or everybody gonna think that you're a hater. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.